Have you ever sat on your couch late at night, phone glowing in your hand, scrolling through everyone else's highlight reels, and wondered, why does it feel like I'm the only one who hasn't figured life out yet? If that thought has ever crossed your mind, you're not alone. In fact, today, I'm going to tell you a story, one that might just shift the way you see your life entirely. So before we begin, make sure to hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and stay until the very end, because what I'm about to share with you could genuinely change the way you see your journey, your relationships, and even your love life. Let's start with a confession. A few years ago, I was 27 years old, living in a small apartment that didn't even have proper curtains. I had friends getting married, buying houses, starting families, and I was eating instant noodles at midnight, while my laundry pile looked like a mountain range. I remember one Saturday afternoon, my friend Daniel invited me over to his new place, a spacious apartment with framed art, matching furniture, and this weird thing I hadn't seen in years, an actual dining table. We sat down for lunch and he told me about his promotion, his upcoming honeymoon, and the great investment plan he'd just signed up for. And as he spoke, I smiled on the outside, but on the inside, I felt like I'd been left behind, like everyone else had caught the train of life, and I was still fumbling for my ticket. I left his apartment that day carrying something heavier than my backpack, and I was carrying the weight of comparison. That evening, I called my mom, and I didn't even tell her why I was calling. I just said I was checking in. But mothers have this superpower. She heard my voice and asked, "What's wrong?" And that's when I spilled it. I told her everything, how I felt like I was failing, how I was embarrassed to show up at reunions, how it seemed like life was moving forward for everyone else but me. She listened quietly, then said something that didn't land immediately, but later, it became the foundation of how I see life. She said, "You're not behind. You're on your own clock." At the time, I thought she was just trying to make me feel better. But over the months that followed, I started seeing what she meant. Here's the thing. We live in a world obsessed with timelines. Graduate by 22, have a career by 25, married by 28, first house by 30, retire by 60. It's like we've all been given this invisible checklist, and we silently panic when we realize we're not ticking the boxes at the same pace as everyone else. But here's what no one tells you. Those timelines, they're made up. They're not laws of the universe. They're just patterns that some people follow, and that's fine. But they're not the standard by which you should measure your worth. Let me tell you about two people I know, and how their timelines couldn't be more different. The first is my cousin, Sam. Sam married his high school sweetheart at 23, bought a house by 25, and had 2 kids by 29. If you met him, you'd think, wow, this guy has it all figured out. The second is my old college professor, Miss Carter. She didn't get married until she was 47. She spent her 20s and 30s traveling, switching careers, living in small towns and big cities, and starting over more times than most people start new Netflix shows. Both of them, they're happy. Both of them are on time because they're living on their time. I didn't realize it right away, but that's the truth. There's no universal deadline for success, love, or fulfillment. Still, it's not easy to feel that when you're stuck in the middle of the comparison trap. And that trap is everywhere. Every time you scroll through Instagram, you see weddings, vacations, promotions. Rarely do you see the sleepless nights, the failures, or the doubts those people went through. It's like looking at a movie, but only watching the final scene and thinking, you know the whole story. I'll be honest. I've had moments where comparison almost cost me opportunities. A few years ago, I was offered a chance to move abroad for a job. It wasn't glamorous, and it definitely wasn't the kind of Instagram-worthy life that people show off. I almost turned it down because I thought, this isn't the kind of success my friends would understand. But then I remembered something my mom had said. Your story is yours. No one else gets to edit the chapters. So I went. And it turned out to be one of the most transformative experiences of my life. I learned a new language, met people who challenged my thinking, and grew in ways that never would have happened if I'd stayed in the safe little box I thought I was supposed to be in. Here's what I've realized. Feeling behind often comes from thinking life is a race. But life isn't a race. It's not even a straight line. It's more like a playlist. Everyone's songs come on at different times. Some people start with the upbeat hits, others start with the slow ballads. Some tracks last year's, others last week's. And just because someone else's song is playing now, doesn't mean yours isn't coming. But let's get practical here. How do you really stop feeling like you're behind? I've broken it down into 3 shifts that changed everything for me. Shift number 1, redefine success for yourself. Let me ask you something a little personal. Do you remember the first time you felt like you were really in love? Not the casual crush, not the "I guess we're dating" phase. I mean the moment your heart decided this is it. Maybe it was in school, and you'd sit by the phone hoping for a text that never came. Maybe it was in college, when you saw them across the library and suddenly forgot how to breathe. Or maybe it was someone you thought you'd marry, until life had other plans. Close your eyes for just 2 seconds and picture them. Remember that feeling, your chest tight, your cheeks hurting from smiling, your brain constantly replaying little moments like your own personal movie. Now here's what's strange. When you were in that moment, did you stop and think, wait, am I falling in love too late? Too early? Does this match the official schedule of life? Of course not. You were just living it, feeling it. It was yours. And that's exactly what redefining success for yourself feels like. You see, most of us are walking around with someone else's definition of success written into our heads, and we don't even realize it. We inherited it from family, friends, social media, movies. It's the invisible checklist. Graduate by this age. Get married by this age. Have kids by this age. Buy a house by this age. Retire by this age. It's like we're all following the same recipe without ever stopping to ask, do I even like this dish? Let me tell you about a guy named Arjun. Arjun was the kind of person who did everything on time. Good grades, great job, married at 28, first kid at 30. From the outside, he was a role model. But when I met him years later over coffee, he told me something that floored me. I ticked all the boxes, and I still don't feel like I'm living my life. It wasn't that he hated his marriage or his career. It was that he never stopped to ask, what does success mean to me? He had built a life based on other people's blueprints. So I'm asking you now, what's your blueprint? What does success and love look like to you? Is it a partner who surprises you with grand gestures? Or one who makes you laugh when you're sad? Is it living in a big city with luxury? Or a small home filled with quiet joy? And in life, is success the corner office and big salary? Or is it having time to travel, to create, to be free? There's no wrong answer, except living by someone else's. Shift number 2, zoom out. I want you to try something with me for just a moment. Think back to your very first heartbreak. Yeah, I know, not the happiest memory, but stay with me. Maybe it was the person you were sure was the one. You had already imagined your wedding playlist, what your kids would look like, and how you'd grow old together. And then, one day it ended. Do you remember how that felt? How in that moment it felt like your whole life had collapsed? Like this was the end of the story, the credits were rolling, and there was nothing good coming next. Now, zoom out. If you look back at that breakup today, years later, you realize it wasn't the end at all. It was just a plot twist, a chapter in a much bigger book. Maybe you even laugh now at how convinced you were that you'd never be okay again. That's what I mean by zoom out. When we're caught in comparison, we're zoomed in way too close. We're staring at one small moment in someone else's life and judging our own entire story by it. It's like looking at a single photograph from a wedding and thinking, you know the entire marriage. Or like seeing a smiling vacation selfie and forgetting that the couple might have argued for 3 hours before taking that shot. I'll tell you about a friend of mine. Let's call her Neha. Neha used to torture herself by scrolling through her ex-boyfriend's Instagram every time she saw him with his new partner. Traveling or celebrating anniversaries, she'd sink into this spiral. Why am I still single? Why is he happy and I'm not? But then something happened. One night while doom scrolling, she stumbled on a photo from her own feed, an old post from when she was with him. The caption was cheerful, the smiles were perfect, and she remembered that picture was taken the day after their worst fight. Suddenly it clicked. She'd been comparing her behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reels. That's the danger of staying zoomed in. You can't see the full picture. Your life is not defined by one moment, not by one breakup, not by one missed opportunity, and definitely not by whether you're caught up with your friends. When you zoom out, you see the long game. You realize that the career you think is lagging might be preparing you for something better, that the single years you wish away might be shaping you into the partner someone else is praying for. So let me ask you, what's one moment in your past that felt like the end? but now you see it was actually a beginning? And if that was true, then what if it's true right now? The truth is, when you zoom out, you stop measuring life in milestones and start seeing it in chapters. And sometimes the best chapters are the ones you don't see coming. Shift number 3, celebrate your now. I want you to do something with me right now. Look around at where you are. Not in a vague way, I mean really look. The room, the smells, the sounds, the temperature. Now here's the part most people never think about. One day, years from now, this very moment, the one you might not even think is special, could be something you'd give anything to relive. Let me explain. When I was in my mid-20s, I went through what I thought was the dullest phase of my life. I was single, broke, working a job I wasn't sure I even liked, and eating way too much instant coffee and cheap bread. It felt like nothing was happening. Then one night I found myself sitting on my tiny balcony, eating leftover pizza wrapped in a blanket, and watching the city lights flicker in the distance. My playlist was on, the air smelled faintly like rain, and out of nowhere I felt this peace. I didn't know it then, but that moment would become one of my favorite memories. Not because of what I had, but because of how free I felt. You see, we're so obsessed with the next big thing, the next relationship, the next milestone, the next I've made it moment, that we forget the now is already a chapter in our story. And here's where I want to bring love back into the picture. Think about your favorite moments with someone you've loved. Was it the big grand gestures, the anniversary dinners, the surprise trips? Or was it the small moments, late night conversations, laughing in the kitchen, watching movies on the couch with a blanket? I bet it's the small ones. Those are the moments you can only experience when you're fully in the now. Let me tell you about Rahul. Rahul spent years wishing for the one. When he finally met her, he thought happiness would come automatically. But after a few months, he realized he wasn't truly enjoying their relationship because his mind was always on the next thing, the next promotion, the next trip, the next apartment. It wasn't until she pointed out, "You're here, but you're not really here," that it hit him. He was physically present but mentally living in the future. He changed that, started noticing the little things. Her sleepy smile in the morning, the way she'd hum when cooking, the comfort of knowing she was just in the other room. Celebrating your now doesn't mean you stop dreaming about the future. It means you realize that today, exactly as it is part of the dream you once had. So whether you're in love, out of love, chasing a goal, or figuring it all out, this season is yours. And one day you might look back and think, that was the good part. What if this is the moment you've been rushing toward all along, and you just didn't know it? Life isn't measured by how quickly you catch up. To others, it's measured by the moments you truly live, the love you give and receive, and the memories you collect along the way. And maybe, just maybe, you'll realize you were never behind at all. You were exactly where you were meant to be, writing a story no one else could write. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.